So those who are having to go live, are we ready? Or do you need some time? I take it that you are ready. So the Deputy Minister will chair for us, and then I'll see you during the Q&As, but the DM will run the program. So we're just waiting for the Minister to join us. Thank you. Hi, Roy. How are you? You ask the questions here. Your questions must... you mustn't wait for the table. Can we have the president of Santaco to join the panel? The president.
All right, colleagues, good morning. Can we please all take our seats and come to order? I'm not gonna try and be like the speaker and say order, but I'm on that direction. Colleagues, thank you very much. Good morning. My name is Hlengwa, the Deputy Minister of Transport. Good morning, Minister Creecy, the Minister of Transport, MEC of Gauteng, the Acting CEO of the RTMC and the CEOs of all our entities, the chairs of boards and board members and executives. We're going to start immediately with the statement by the Minister of the release of the 25-26 festive season road safety statistics and the 2025 statistics. All other remarks will be taken after the Minister has presented her statement. So, colleagues, good morning and welcome to this press briefing. Happy Thursday. It now gives me great pleasure to invite the Minister of Transport, Minister Barbara Creecy, to present her statement. Minister, over to you.
Deputy Minister of Transport, Mr. Hlengwa, MEC Kediboni Diale, Board Chairpersons of Road Transport Entities, CEOs of Road Transport Entities, all public officials present today, representatives of civil society, including the President of Santaco, fellow South Africans, members of the media. Today, we report on progress and preliminary results for the 2025 festive season road safety campaign and the overall road safety outcomes for the 2025 year as a whole. Preliminary data indicates a 5% reduction in both fatalities and crashes for this year's festive season compared with the same period in the previous year. This year, a total of 1,427 fatalities were recorded from 1,172 crashes during the festive season. The data shows that the 25-26 festive season recorded the lowest number of crashes in 5 years and the same number of fatalities as the 23-24 season. 5 provinces reported reductions in fatalities. The highest percentage reduction was recorded in the Eastern Cape, followed by the Free State. And I want to take this opportunity to congratulate those provinces in particular for the extremely hard work which they undertook during the festive season period. 4 provinces, namely Gauteng, Western Cape, Mpumalanga, and Northern Cape, recorded increases in fatalities. There was a notable increase in fatalities from the 15th to the 28th of December. These 2 weeks contributed more than 40% to crashes and fatalities. And this confirms that festive season crashes and fatalities increase once travelers reach their final destination and are engaged in festivities, rather than during the peak travel period. Many of the crashes happened between 7 p.m. and 9 p.m. in the evening, and the increase continued up until 1 a.m. in the morning. These crashes involved collisions with pedestrians, hit and run, which often is with a pedestrian, single vehicle overturns, and head-on collisions. The highest number of pedestrian fatalities were reported in the city of Cape Town, the city of Johannesburg, eThekwini, Nkangala District Municipality, and the city of Tshwane. The types of vehicles that contributed most to crashes were small motorcars, 55%, light delivery vehicles, another 20%, and minibus vehicles and trucks were involved in only 7% and 6% of the accidents. Over the festive season, our combined law enforcement officers conducted 1,632 roadblocks, in which 1.8 million vehicles were stopped and checked. More than 450,000 traffic fines were issued, and 525 arrests were executed for excessive speeding. Roadblocks and vehicle inspections targeted roadworthiness, driver fitness, and licensing. A total of 173,000 drivers were tested for being under the influence of alcohol. 8,561 of these tested positive and were arrested. This represents a 144% increase in the number of arrests for drunken driving since the previous year. The highest alcohol reading was in KwaZulu-Natal, where a motorist recorded breath alcohol content 14 times over the legal limit. The highest speedster was arrested in the Northern Cape, where he clocked 220 kilometers an hour in a 120 zone. This year, our officers arrested 89 motorists for attempting to bribe traffic officers to avoid an arrest or a fine. We completed 2,547 physical awareness and education programs across the country to influence driver, pedestrian, and passenger behavior, including visits to mass transit departure points, malls, and other areas of mass convergence. As members of the media present here today know very well, we also had a massive community awareness and education campaign on radio, television, and social media platforms. A downward trajectory in road crashes and fatalities has also been observed in our annual statistics, with preliminary data showing that the number of road collisions and deaths for the 12-month period of 2025 is the lowest in 5 years. A total of 11,418 fatalities were recorded from 9,676 crashes in 2025. Furthermore, the 2025 crashes decreased by 6.4% when compared to 2024, and the fatalities decreased by 6.2% in the same period. I want to take this opportunity to thank our traffic officers at national, provincial, and local government level, the South African Police Services and Emergency Services, for the sterling work you have done throughout the year, and particularly during the festive season, to decrease the accident statistics. I also want to thank provincial MECs, MMCs for transport in municipalities, as well as traditional authorities, the organized bus, taxi, and trucking industries, as well as a large number of civil society organizations for your hard work and dedication, which has in large measure contributed to the reduction for the first time in many years and set us on the path to achieving our target of halving road deaths by 2030. In the coming year, we will once again work with provinces and municipalities to improve consistent traffic law enforcement on our roads, particularly on weekends and public holidays. We will also increase our education and enforcement work targeting pedestrians. In towns, cities, and rural areas, half of all road deaths are men, women, and children walking alongside or crossing roads. Ladies and gentlemen, members of the media, the number of deaths caused by road accidents is, in my view, a reason for national shame. All of those who have passed on over the last year, men, women, and children, were loved and cherished during their lives, and today are sorely missed by their families and friends. Death on our roads is not like old age. There is nothing inevitable or unavoidable about it. Analysis of reported crashes throughout the year confirms that human behavior, and particularly reckless driver behavior, remains the leading cause of road trauma. Speeding and drunk driving remain the major cause of road accidents. I have already spoken today about how we will continue our enforcement and behavior change operations, but we have to do more. Our driving and drinking policy was formulated many years ago. In today's South Africa, it is totally unacceptable that there is a law that allows people to drink and then drive. I have never understood this. I cannot explain this to anyone who has lost a parent, a brother, a sister, a child, as a result of a road accident. The time has come for us to amend the law so that we have a clear-cut, easy to understand and unambiguous policy that says drinking and driving are not allowed. A law that allows drivers to drink a certain amount and then get behind the wheel of a car must be scrapped. So we will begin an amendment to Section 65 of the National Road Traffic Act. If nothing else, we owe this to the memory of the many fellow South Africans who have lost their lives on the roads. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Minister, for that very comprehensive briefing that you have given to us. I'm going to ask Ubaba Msebi to come and facilitate the question and answer session and request that those who are online, as per usual, forward their questions, and then we will also get to them. Ubaba Msebi, over to you.
Thank you so much, Deputy Minister.
Sorry, Colin, apologies. Sorry. Okay. My bad. Just hang 10
Okay.
one second. I think we're going to start with the messages. May I now request MEC Kidiboni Teletlavela to come forward and present her message and remarks. She knows the grueling schedule we had every Tuesday and Thursday. Minister was convening provinces and ourselves and all the entities for the meetings, and so the provinces have been part of the program of action that we have rolled out for this festive season. Over to you, MC.
Thank you very much, GM. Good morning, Minister. Good morning, President of Santaco and all other stakeholders that are here. I think Minister has spoken. All we need to do is to continue with the work, Minister. Here in Gauteng, we had a serious challenge with pedestrians, and I think we'll be working closely with our Department of Social Development, because most of those are the homeless that move on our freeways, but also we are engaging with public transport operators in our province that do the load and the offloading on our freeways and also arterial roads. We're working closely also with municipalities to deal with this. All I can say, GM, is that the work continues. Ours is a 365 days campaign, and we'll work hard to reduce the numbers. What we saw as Gauteng was that people died in groups. The key accidents we had as family members dying together, which is a serious concern, and will continue with community and individual engagements, and work also with the private sector, because I think it's time we go to where people are, in their places of work, in the churches, as well as working closely with the unions to assist us deal and spread the message of "It starts with you." Thank you very much.
Thanks, MEC. May I ask the President of Santaco to come and present a message?
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister Creecy, Deputy Minister Hlengwa, the MEC of Gauteng, Kidiboni Diale, CEO of Transport Agencies, members of the media, fellow South Africans. When the taxi industry launched the Tlhokomela road safety campaign in 2010, it was responsible for nearly 48% of accidents during peak travel periods. And since then, through focused leadership and close collaboration with the Department of Transport, the agencies and private sector partners, we have driven a significant reduction in accidents. This progress would not have been possible without unity of purpose and, of course, a shared destination. Minister, today we want to announce that on the 30th of November 2025, the South African National Taxi Council rolled out a nationwide intensified road safety and customer service campaign under the Tlhokomela flagship programs. And we targeted mostly the taxi ranks because that's where the trouble starts. The campaign commenced in the Free State and expanded across the country with particular emphasis on long-distance taxi ranks and national roads. In several regions, we partnered with institutions such as RTMC, the South African Police Services, Provincial Transport Departments. From this initiative, Minister, the following key observations emerged. Commuter value, support and encourage consistent road safety messaging and road safety inspections. The compulsory use of reliever drivers on long-distance routes, including operations in your KZN, Western Cape, Northern Cape and Eastern Cape, and across border services, is very critical as well, Minister, because we realize the one that we had in the Eastern Cape is purely because of fatigue, because it was a head-on collision. And we are emphasizing that to our leadership in provinces to say this must come to an end, because drivers cannot just drive for long distance and trying to make money on one day, whereas we've got 365 days that we are making business. Life of our customers is very important. The compulsory use of the Santaco must intensify road safety advocacy and comprehensive industry training across the full ecosystem, including drivers, marshals, patrollers, schedulers, and administrative staff. And Minister, we are also dealing with the breathalyzers that are going to come into our cars before the driver takes a trip, and he must go through a breathalyzer. And the breathalyzer will be connected to a car. If it sends, the car won't start. And after certain kilometers or after, he must do it again. And the camera system in our cars as well, so that we are able to monitor that they do the right thing. And we are accelerating the rollout of Santaco Recruitment Agency. It's necessary to close existing gaps in employment standards, safety and compliance, because we need to know who's driving our cars as national. So we are busy coming up with the data from associations, regions, provinces, so that we are responsible. Sustained joint enforcement with authorities is required to eliminate illegal operations. And thank you very much, Minister, to take head-on the e-hailing, the problems that we had in terms of the legislations that you brought. So we are working very closely. And we are also looking into drivers without valid licenses and professional driving permits. And we are doing that because on the streets, law enforcement must take over. But at the ranks, we are able to encourage, because we don't want to mix. When we go to the road as Tlhokomela, we are always with the law enforcement agencies to do their work. The industry must adopt technology more effectively to strengthen safety monitoring, surveillance, and fleet management. Road safety interventions must urgently integrate public and private health sector partners as well. In response, we commit to the following actions, Minister: strengthening ongoing collaboration with government and law enforcement, expanding continuous training across all levels of the taxi industry, sustaining the Tlhokomela Road Safety Campaign Awareness Program, fast-tracking recruitment systems and technology-driven solutions to enhance compliance and safety, deepening a partnership with civil society, private sector stakeholders, and public and private health institutions, maintaining an open door policy, particularly engaging commuter formations to improve service delivery. And Honorable Minister, we are deeply concerned by the rapid proliferation of illegal 7-seater vehicles that are doing operations as shuttle services, especially for long distances. But this one, I think, Minister, as we are sitting, we've dealt with the e-hailing. Now there comes this other one that are using apps as WhatsApp to take our members, and this is unregulated operations, and operators pose serious safety risk, and this is where some illegal and criminality comes in. So we need to deal with that, because it poses a serious risk through these unlicensed vehicles and undermine a fair transport operation environment. Their growth is well intentioned that risk escalating into regrettable incidents of violence, and these have to be quelled before they gain prominence. And we are saying thank you to the law enforcement. We've seen the action that they've taken in the province of Limpopo, where some of the patrollers in our name were arrested. And we applaud that, because we are saying this industry, we need to do away with the surname that says taxi violence. We are a taxi business. We don't want that surname that says violence again in our history. We are saying where criminal activity arises, it must be addressed through established legal processes. No members or in our industry must take the law into their own hands. The taxi industry, Minister, members of the media, colleagues, remains a proud and essential transporter of South Africa's community in public. We reaffirm our commitment to working closely with government and enforcement to eradicate criminality within the sector, and also to look at the road safety as well, and to protect legitimate operators and build a safe, fair, and sustainable transport system for all law-abiding South African transport businesses. We are busy, Minister, doing back to school. We are checking vehicles that are doing scholar transport as well to make sure that they are legal, but as much as we see gaps, we will engage with the law enforcement to take action. Thank you very much for the time. Thank you so much.
All right, colleagues, so that we can manage our time, I'm going to now request Babu Msebi to come forward and facilitate the question and answer session. Thank you.
Thanks, Diam, and thanks, Mongameli. So we'll take questions, colleagues. Can we try and just limit it to the topic of today? I know there is quite a temptation to go into other issues. So by show of hands, you can introduce yourself and the news outlet you represent. I see two hands this side. That will come this side. Can we just start from this side? Yes, sir. What's going on? Just speak to the mic. Of course. Your question bundles have depleted so many questions. So we'll take the one next to you. Yes. Yes, yes. You can use the same mic.
Minister, in your address, you mentioned that part of the reason for majority of the road fatalities has been drunken driving behavior as well at what point do we look at other measures such as infrastructure as being possibly responsible for some of the fatalities? The road network, the potholes on the road, as well as the fact that some roads are still just one lane. And we hear that in the taxi industry, they're working on measures and so on. There are roads where it's still very difficult and unsafe to overtake. What are we doing in order to ensure that the road infrastructure and the road network is of good standard and that there is no potholes, perhaps? And with regards to the pedestrians, this is to the MEC for Johannesburg. I'm rather from Gauteng. MEC, with regards to pedestrian deaths, and then and the homeless being responsible for the majority of the deaths in Johannesburg, what are we doing to ensure that we are able to close off the highways and many roads from people crossing and jaywalking on the highways? And I think for now that is.
Thank you so much. I'll take the last one right at the back. I'll come to you, that's it. And here.
Good morning, ministers, MECs, and rest of the leadership. Breaking here from Netwerk 24. My first question would be, is it then a misconception, because this is only 17% of the road fatalities or crashes have a truck involved. Is it a misconception that there are still too many trucks on the road? And perhaps just some clarity on that. And also, Minister, is it perhaps time to look at the licensing and have a more intensive process when it comes to that? It's perhaps too easy to get a driver's license in the country. I hope I'm making sense for that question. And then just with regards to air travel, I know there were South Africans that took to social media that said air travel was way too expensive, or is way too expensive. Is that a possible solution? And what is being done to make it more affordable for South Africans? Thank you so much.
Okay. Thank you so much, Minister. Over to you. And MEC, and then we'll Vivian after. But we'll start with the Minister. Okay.
Colleagues, thank you very much for the questions. So let me start off and say that I am deeply concerned about the road death toll. And while it's important that the statistics are moving in the right direction, because it gives us hope that with increased enforcement and increased public education, we can reduce the road death toll, I'm very clear that this death toll is way, way too high. And that is why we are introducing a new measure. And that measure is to prevent any form of drinking and driving. Because all scientific evidence indicates that alcohol intake diminishes concentration. The reason why we explained that 40% of accidents occurred between the 15th and the 28th of December is because those accidents did not occur on our national highways. They occurred on back routes, they involved private vehicles, and they occurred in the evenings. And those factors tell us that these were not travelers who were moving to a long-distance destination. These were party revelers who had accidents, serious accidents, that resulted in several deaths. So I think that if you are talking about a change in strategy, yes, this is the change in strategy that we are implementing. Taxis are not responsible for the majority of accidents. 7% of accidents involve taxis. We do agree that should a taxi have an accident, then there is a likelihood that there will be multiple deaths in that accident. But the majority of accidents were private citizens traveling on minor roads after partying. %80 of road accidents, and this is the response to the SABC question, 80% of road accidents are caused by human error. The human error could be that a pedestrian decides to cross a highway and doesn't understand that even if the vehicle sees them, they will not be able to stop in time. Or the human error can be that one is traveling far, far too fast, or one is driving under the influence of alcohol. 20% of accidents are caused by what we call environmental factors. Over this festive season, the major environmental factor was heavy rain. And I think that we are, even at this moment in Limpopo and also in Mpumalanga, continuing to see extreme weather phenomena that unfortunately are likely to cause accidents, because heavy rain decreases visibility, it makes the road more slippery. Indeed, road condition does play a part in these 20% of factors. And you would be correct when you say that we do have roads in our country that are narrow and do not have shoulders. So if somebody overtakes on a blind rise, there is no way for the oncoming car to go other than to move off the road. You would know that SANRAL is involved in major road construction across the country on all of our national roads. And part of what that road construction involves is building overtaking lanes on hills, removing dangerous curves on roads, and trying to improve the safety of road conditions. And indeed, I am sure that amongst environmental factors, although I have no statistics, you would find that potholes could cause a problem because they could lead to a blowout, a tire failure on a vehicle, which could then cause a vehicle to veer across the road into the oncoming traffic. But it's very important that we understand that the fundamental cause of road accidents on our roads is not infrastructure. It is human behavior. And it is the human behavior that we have to change through consistent education, but also through preventing drinking and driving altogether. Brayton, the statistic I gave was that in the festive season crashes, only 7% of the accidents were with trucks. The majority of accidents were with private vehicles and light delivery vehicles. And we know that light delivery vehicles includes bakkies and panel vans, which in many instances are being used for private transport means. I think that it is a matter of public record that we are working on repairing our rail system so that we can move both passengers and freight back onto the rail system. That is a necessity in any modern economy, that the backbone of your transport network must be rail. But there will always be a role for trucking, there will always be a role for buses, there will always be a role for taxis, because the last mile cannot be covered by a rail system. The last mile and the first mile can never be covered by a rail system. So I don't know how many trucks is too many trucks. It's, you know, it's a bit like how long is a piece of string. But I think where we have a meeting of minds is that the rail system must be the backbone of the movement of people and goods. Our rail system has been in a shocking condition for many years, and we're in the process of fixing it currently, so that we can move back towards that system, which I think is preferable. On the licensing of drivers, I don't think that there's a problem with the actual process of licensing, but we do know that there is corruption within the licensing system. And you would have heard that, and I don't want to get into this matter in this meeting, but you would have heard that we are developing closer relationships with Home Affairs so that we can have less cheating and greater integrity in our driver's license system. I don't want to comment on airways in this meeting. Thank you.
But I'll just emphasize on the jaywalkers. I think one of the challenges we have on jaywalking is around N12. And the hit and runs happens at night. And our investigation is that people cross from the other side of the settlements next to the highway into the other side to go to a tavern. And when they come back drunk, that's when the accident happens. So it continues again that drinking alcohol it's a hindrance to all of us. It's hazardous to all of us as society. The other issue is, I think what we are, and that's what we are doing now as Gauteng in reflection with our municipalities, is to continue with the education. I think you have heard the minister emphasizing on it. And that's why you see us saying we'll go to tavern. We have to engage with the liquor traders in our province, especially around those affected roads. Go into the factories to go to and speak with people in their places of work. Churches, we've been doing it with the churches. We've been doing it with shebins and taverns, but I think we need to ramp it up. But our challenge is alcohol. Whether you are driving or walking, you still affect the road fatalities in our province. And I think we depend much on yourselves as the media and also the liquor traders to create that awareness. We have, I think, Minister, I always, when I drive around, I count how many people walk on freeways. It's unfortunate, a freeway, we drive at high speed, 100, 120. And a lot of those are homeless or men looking like they are depressed. And that's why you hear us saying we need to engage social development in our province to work closely on how do we remove them. We've been trying hard to remove people as Gauteng from the intersections. You see people that ask for money, please stop giving them money because you are creating a market for them to stay there. And they get hit by vehicles at night mostly. One accident that happened in our province happened during the day, around 11, 12-ish, of women traveling with kids. They looked like they were going to Limpopo because they were on N1. And they all died. So we experienced accidents like that in our province. The other accident was people looking like coming from a party very drunk. All of them, 7 of them died in a BMW 3 Series. in the wee hours. So alcohol remains a serious challenge to all of us, especially here in Gauteng, as we are a bit of a youthful province, and we'll do our best, but like we say, it starts with you. It starts with an individual to making that decision. I mean, how do you travel in the wee hours and overloaded, drunk, and now families are faced with challenges of not having breadwinners, because surely those are still economically active individuals that now are needed to come and assist families, not only their families, but all of us as a country. We will continue with the campaigns. We're doing our best to make sure that our road infrastructure is intact. Part of what we did as Gauteng and its own municipalities, when we were reflecting on road safety, we also brought in the road maintenance teams in municipalities and as well as at the provincial level. It's not all well good, but we are all getting there. We're doing data collection on a daily basis. Like I said, we plan together and execute together. We work closely with our law enforcement agencies in both municipalities and at the provincial level. So it's an integrated approach that we're trying. We'll continue with that. It's not easy because we don't have enough resources, but we are doing our best to make sure that our road infrastructure is up to standard and it's able to assist to move people from one point to another. Thank you very much.
Mongameli. Uvive with your online, I'm coming to you. Mongameli.
Mine is very simple. The breathalyzer is immediately. The action is immediately. What we're going to start, because to install on all vehicles, it's a lengthy process. We'll be starting at the ranks with our marshals, of course, in collaboration with our associations. But our target is long distance operators for now, especially for the Easter holidays that we are going through now. So that's it. But the breathalyzer, we are done. It's just the process of implementation. So we are starting immediately.
Thanks, Mongameli. What's happening online?
Thank you. We have a question from Festive contributing on his news. He just needs clarity on what kilometer road statistics coverage, what's the big reason on the ending, and also can he please get the number of police there. Another question is from Festive, representing English. Is there a segmentation of crashes involving trucks and a repeated process of the crashes so that lessons can be learned to avoid similar crashes in the future? Also, the full accident report by qualified accident investigators is only implemented for crashes involving 5 or more killed or a VIP. This report contains a valuable lesson, but there are other risks. Is there any way that these crash investigations be documented, not only in terms of the numbers, but in terms of lessons that can be learned?
Okay. There's more. Okay. There's more. You go ahead.
Very much, Minister. Minister, my question has to do with the overloading of buses. We are approaching Easter season. We do know that we will have those buses once again, once the plan in place to address that, Minister. Thank you.
Okay. I'll take you, sir. If you can just introduce yourself. No. Two. Then you can come back.
Let's start with the categories of drivers. You know, about there's foreign drivers, especially those who are traveling heavy duty vehicles. Are we satisfied with the department that they know what to do, they know what the sign means when they see a road sign here in South Africa, those who are carrying licenses
Yes, thank you so much. Some of the questions we'll address on the one-on-one interviews, and we will take the responses now, and then we'll come back for the last set and make an assessment. But we limit the questions. So we'll take the responses, and then we come back to you, and online as well, and then we make an assessment. Minister.
So, in response to EWN, we are releasing 2 sets of statistics today. The first set of statistics is for the period from 1 December until 14th of January. 11th of December, sorry, 11 January, yeah. 1 December to 11 January. That's the first set of statistics. The second set of statistics is the annual statistics for 2025. From January to the end of, from the 1st of January to the 31st of December 2025. That's the second set of statistics. In terms of the segmentation of accidents involving trucks, what we said was that 7% of accidents during the festive season were caused by trucks. Now, you are correct when you say that our accident investigations give us very important lessons. And you would have heard me, I can say with confidence that human error is responsible. I can say with confidence the times when accidents occur. I can say with confidence the causes of accidents, the number of different kinds of vehicles. That is all information that we pick up from our investigation of accidents. You would understand that most of those reports are subject to court cases, because in most cases those accidents have culpable homicide cases against them. So they would be used in court proceedings, and obviously court proceedings are public. But we would obviously not be in a position to make those results, those investigations public when there are court proceedings pending. And you would understand that many of these court proceedings where culpable homicide is involved go on over several years. But the information that we are releasing is information that we get from a range of sources, including our major accident reports. And I think what we are trying to show you is that we're not dreaming up solutions. We are engaged in an evidence-led process. And that evidence comes from the wealth of information that the RTMC is collecting and processing to guide all of our interventions. You know, I think that with regard to drivers, whether they're drivers of trucks, drivers of Ubers, and so on and so on, the key issue is whether those drivers are legal or illegal. Because you would understand that anybody who drives a public transport vehicle must have a PDP license. And a PDP license is a license which is much stricter than the kind of license that you or I would have, and it's a license that has to be renewed every 2 years. We agree that the e-hailing industry requires regulation. That's why we introduced regulation last year. So we're not going to have a situation where anybody can do anything anymore. That is why we have introduced the regulations last year. I'm not an expert on whether a learner driver is allowed to carry a passenger, but I'm sure my officials will advise you on that matter. But just because a car has an L on the back doesn't mean the person who's driving it is a learner driver. It just means that that vehicle is used for training somebody who's learning to drive. When it comes to the issue of overloading of buses, we had a major crackdown following that terrible incident that occurred at the beginning of October, where we found 91 passengers on a 60-seater bus. And what I didn't say, but I can share with you, is that much of our law enforcement actually happened at the points of departure. So at the bus depots, I think the president of Santakos talked about the operations we had at taxi depots. And the purpose of those operations was to prevent overloading, both of people and goods, because these trailers are a major issue. The other thing we spent a lot of time working on in November was the roadworthiness of foreign transport operators, bus fleets. I can share with you that at Beitbridge, we were unloading buses that were trying to get into South Africa because they were overloaded, and we were preventing buses from entering that were not in a roadworthy condition. The Limpopo authorities did a wonderful job on the N1. They really did a wonderful job. And part of what they did was to actively check buses, because one of the phenomena that we've picked up is that we're 60 when we leave the rank, but then we go somewhere and we do something. And it is those somewheres and something that we were catching on the N1. So that we shouldn't have a repeat of that terrible accident that happened outside of Makado. And one of the issues that I have asked RTMC and the CBRITA, the Cross-Border Transport Authority, is, do we have repeat offenders? Because if we do, we're going to have to take some tough decisions here. We can't have people operating in our country, foreign operators operating in our country, who continually break the law. So that is something that I will be following up on with RTMC and with CBRITA. Who are the repeat offenders? Because we're not going to allow this kind of thing to happen anymore. Thank you very much.
Issue of patrollers, I think it has been long coming up to Santaco that the others, they call it patrollers, the squad. What we are coming up with is that our associations are going to start to register the so-called patrollers, because we want to change them to become Tlokomel. And so that, but we need to know, like you are saying in Mafikeng, who in Mafikeng, why is he doing that? So sometimes because we don't have that track record. So we are coming up with the database to know the cars, who's driving that car, which association owns that car. So that's where we can keep this thing, so that when problems comes, we know exactly where to go as Santaco. Thank you.
Thanks, President. I can confirm this is going to be the last set of questions. We've come to 11 o'clock, so we'll take your hand. Roy, you haven't said anything. We'll take your hand. Any other hand? The special dispensation doesn't matter. You can go ahead.
Good morning, Minister. Deputy Minister, I don't know if you can hear me.
Yes.
My name is Howard Bell. I'm from the Institute for Driver Safety. I'd like to first of all commend you for the approach taken and for the job
you so much. Any other hand? What's happening? Online?
Hlengwa from Services Country Center is actively seeking leadership from a fraternity transporting for the Islamic students. Clement has recently been campaign. As if led from a Cossack direct leader Creecy, with festive increasing traditional Cossack festive seasons. Simon Majority will be representing IFF. There appears to be a trend of buses being impounded in Limpopo while home to be overloaded on their way to the refineries, such as Zimbabwe and Malawi. Is the minister concerned about this, and what measures are being planned to address the issue? How many overloaded buses were impounded in the festive season traveling to other countries?
Thank you so much. It is in the report. Yeah.
And all these other ones included expenses.
So we'll circulate that report. I think we've already done Tseho. I think it's gone out. So we shall do so. There's that question. I don't know, Minister, if you want to take that. There was a comment and a question. And then I'm not coming back. I'll hand over to the Deputy Minister. I think it brings us to the end. So Tseho, where is Tseho? Tseho is there for one-on-ones. Please, if you can just arrange with him so that there is order. So after the Deputy Minister is closed, we'll take the one-on-ones. The cameras can remain where they are. And then we'll take one-on-ones. Thank you, Minister. Deputy Minister, take over.
Howard, thank you very much for your comments. I absolutely agree with you that there are a range of excellent courses. I think that what we should do is make links between your association and Santaco, Saboa, the Trucking Association, because and other associations, even the e-hailing industry, that have mass drivers. Because I think that it's obviously very important that industry should make sure that their drivers are of the highest standard. I think that all citizens, my own view is if you drive in South Africa, a defensive driving course is a very good idea. And I would urge all citizens to take one. I think it could really save your lives. Obviously, we have, what was it? How many million people in this country? 65 million people in this country, of whom at least half are adults. We don't have the money to put everybody through those courses. But we definitely would urge organized business in the logistics sector to make use of them. And I'm sure through your good offices, this information can be made more widely available to individual citizens and also to transport associations. Thank you very much.
Colleagues, that does bring us to the end. I just have 3.5 things to say. Minister, I know that you thanked all of us and the MECs. I think it's only proper that we also extend our own appreciation and thanks to you for the leadership that you have provided. I always, in corners, say she's a slave driver, but I've told you that before as well. And I think don't stop, Minister, even if it means us sacrificing a lot of the time, particularly during the difficult periods where most people expect us to be home, but you keep us actually working. So I think we want to extend our own appreciation and thanks to you as well for the leadership that you are providing. Secondly, without any bias, we dispatched 800 national traffic police during this festive season throughout the country. It was a huge sacrifice on them to be away from home. I just want to thank the National Traffic Police for being away from home for this long duration, and all the traffic reinforcement officers as well for the hard work that they have done. And then lastly, Minister, in the roadblocks that we did and the operations that we attended, I think it is important as we now transition to scholar transport focus, to urge parents to exercise maximum discipline in their vehicles around children. Children are not being put in seat belts, they're not being put in car seats. The long-term trauma that children suffer, particularly head injuries, when these crashes occur, is of fundamental concern to all of us. So there's a responsibility that is incumbent on parents and guardians in the vehicles to ensure that children are actually fastened in. I know that when you engage with them, they say, yeah, but they don't like it. It's an important inconvenience for long-term safety. And I believe that these are part of the issues we now need to focus on as we transition to the scholar transport focus in all the work that we will be doing. Colleagues, I want to extend the appreciation of Minister Creecy, the department, all our entities, to all of you for being here this morning for this briefing, and we will now go to the one-on-ones. And thanks to the media for being an able and active partner for us in communicating our messages throughout the festive season and throughout the year. Don't stop, add on even with the free coverage, just as part of your ongoing commentary on the news waves. Just let's speak about this. Take care and God bless. Thank you.
Can I just request the panel to remain where you are? Roy, we'll start with you while we set up the other one-on-ones. You know what to do, Roy? So, Tseho.